Years ago, you would never have caught me dead in any Prius. Doesn't matter what version it was, you wouldn't have caught me dead in one. Fast forward to today, I am the proud owner of a 2013 Prius V that I am absolutely crazy about. It has exceeded all my expectations. So I was given the opportunity to swap out the aging nickel metal hydride battery. And when I say aging, I'm not talking about it's actually failing. After running a test through the Dr. Prius app, the life expectancy percentage was 63%, so it's doing pretty good for 8 years old. Aging, as in technology-wise. Nickel metal hydride has been around for a very long time and it is very trusted, I get that. However, it is time for a fresh face. I plan to keep this car for a very long time, hopefully long enough to where at least my kids will be able to drive it someday. So why not breathe new life into this Prius by changing out that nickel metal hydride battery pack and upgrading to a lithium polymer. So I decided to make a video of the steps it took for me to change out said battery pack. It's not as bad as you think. Before we get too far into it though, a big shout out to Pete the Hybrid Guy. There's a link in the description below for his channel. If you want to know anything about Prius, modifications, general maintenance, go ahead and check his channel out. He's been a big help with even making my video. He's made a video swapping out the battery as well, so now you've got twice of the video action of getting these battery packs in the back of these Priuses. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the action. We're going to start right into it. This is my personal 2013 Prius V. Alright, let's get right into it. Just disassembling the rear of the Prius V is pretty easy. Start out with the carpet if you have so equipped. And take out the main plastic top cover, two side covers, and of course the little privacy shade, still have it, the bins, and you'll see the back end of the battery. Pull out the safety plug in this manner. Keep that for later. Time to disengage the 12-volt auxiliary battery. This takes a 10mm socket or wrench. As long as it's 10 millimeters, you'll be fine. Next, you use that same 10mm socket to remove the top cover over the battery. The only bolt that holds in the plastic. It's kind of weird and not very symmetrical, but whatever. It's easy. Don't lose it though. The cover just pops up. Just release its little plastic clips. Pop it up to reveal the battery. First thing we want to do is remove the exhaust for the air circuit here. Just a little push pin, just comes right out. Next, 3 connectors. It's actually there are only 3 connectors on this entire battery setup. I used a small flathead screwdriver because I couldn't really push in the release tab with my fingers. It's very hard to do. So, flathead screwdriver it is. You're going to need to use the same safety orange plug to release these safety plugs on the battery as well. It's just a Christmas tree kind of connection here. You just move that out of the way. I removed it entirely just for filming. You do not have to remove it fully. Next up, these 4 bolts to reveal the high voltage cables. Number 3 and number 4. Voila! High voltage cables. It's always a good idea to test your volt ohm meter to make sure it's working properly, so I decided to test it out on the auxiliary battery. 12.78 volts. Pretty steady and still good. It's actually fairly new, so it should be good. Now go ahead and test your high voltage cables. It should be 0. If it is not 0, you might have to wait a while. Moving on to more of these connectors or wire harness holders. This push style, it's got 2 tabs on the top and bottom of it. You just kind of push it out of the way. Just make sure the cable's out of the way. This one's a little bit trickier to get to. It's kind of low and to the side of the vent fan, but the same process applies. Just push in one of the tabs and just pull up. This is another Christmas tree for that main harness for the high voltage cables. Just pry it away. Another 10mm bolt here, or 10mm nut here, and 10mm nut here for the high voltage cables. And they are released. Sorry about the lighting. It got dark on me really fast. I'm not working in a garage, just in my driveway. I put these 2 nuts back on the post here, just so I keep those from getting lost. Next up is now the mounting bolts for the battery pack. These are 12mm. We've got 2 in the front of the battery pack on the passenger side, 2 on the driver's side, and then of course 2 in the very back. We'll do the easy ones first. Zip those off, 12 mils. I'm only using my drill for the light in this. For the actual release of the bolts, I use mini extensions. I chose to leave the side covers on. You can take them off if you want. It'll make this a little bit easier. It's not imperative that you do. You can still reach it as long as you've got extensions. The red wire you see there is an aftermarket rear view camera. You won't be seeing that on yours unless you have an aftermarket rear view camera like I do and routed that the same way. Alright, now it's time to get this heavy beast out of there. I did eat my Wheaties this morning, so I'm pretty confident I can move this battery by myself. Just kind of pick the whole thing up and swing it around. At this point too, I'm getting torn up by mosquitoes, so I'm very excited to get this thing inside and get to work on it. Next up, you got these 10mm bolts as well for the main cover. Zip those bad boys off. And don't forget this one on the side and on the top. Moving on to the back, another set of 4 plus 1. These 4. And that one on the side. Don't forget that one. There's that side cover for those 3 bolts, tops and side. Once those nuts are released, the whole cover just comes straight up. And there she is, the original nickel metal hydride battery. First I removed the temp sensors, just be mindful of where they are. I'm noticing that the battery is still warm even though the car has been parked for at least 10 hours by now. And it's like 75 degrees at this point. Remove the plastic covers to reveal those pesky little 8mm nuts that are on front and back of the battery. Zip those bad boys off. The good news is you only have to do this once, if you will, because you won't be using the other side of the bus bars anymore. Just this side gets the business. Just peel it back. We'll come back to those bus bars later. They will be needed cleaned. Now for this side. This is the side that you won't be using any more of these bus bars. The only thing you'll be using is the black section there, as you'll see. That's for the cutoff switch. just discard those bus bars. The main bus bars we'll be using here, you can see there's a little bit of corrosion there, so we're going to soak those bad boys overnight in some vinegar. Take some patience getting them out. They have clips everywhere, but you just got to keep at it and be careful. All I had available was apple cider vinegar. It'll do just fine. Does the job. This wire here, I noticed, was corroded too. It lives here. It's just one little connection. You just unclip it and it pulls right out. Next up is this additional bracketry that lives underneath the battery pack. It's actually what the front of the battery pack is attached to the car with. You're going to lift it up and you're going to find more 10mm nuts and bolts. It's a combination. You can use a socket on all these except for one. This one. Can't really get the angle. This one is fine. But that last one there, you're just going to need a little open-end box wrench. No big deal. Lift up the whole battery pack and you can just pull the bracket right off. Now we get to the little pesky 8mm bolts that actually lock the battery blades down. One by one, they gotta come off. Next up is this kind of a compression style clasp here. You're going to need to remove a total of 6 bolts. 2 on the top on this side, and the 2 on the bottom on this side as well, here and here. Once those are released, you can pry that piece off. To get that black rail off, you need to undo these top ones on the other side. And I apologize, I lost some footage here, but removing the blades was self-explanatory. It's pretty easy. Here's that special blade I was talking about. It is sitting in there backwards right now, so don't do that. And one by one, make sure everything lines up, and put the new blades in. Here's where that special blade comes in, and it will be facing the correct way now. That's better. Probably worth noting, I chose to put all these batteries in numerical order. I noticed that there is a part number or a sequence number on these, except for the special blade. Its number did not correlate with the others, so I'm assuming it doesn't really matter. This next part is going to take some patience. Just take your time. Getting everything to line up with these little compression bars and this whole system. It just took a lot of back and forth and up and down and back and forth. It was just a kind of a headache. Just take your time. Make sure everything is loosely put together. And then once you know everything fits properly, including the lockdown bolts for the new blades, make sure that every single one of them fits first. A lot of pushing and pulling and prying to get everything lined up perfectly. Once again, just take your time. Next day, bus bars are clean. That one main wiring harness right there, that's clean. This is my helper, Law the cat. I was hoping he'd finish the battery while I was sleeping, but no luck. Reinserting the new bus bars, or clean bus bars rather. Make sure that the flat end is facing up towards the sky. And it just takes some patience. Once again, you just gotta make sure everything is fitting properly. You can go ahead and put that bar back on now. Now it's time to put all 1 trillion of those 8mm nuts for the battery. Like I said though, you only have to do this one side, so it's awesome, except for the 2 on the other side. They don't require a lot of torque, just a little snug fit. Reaffix the plastic covers. Make sure everything looks neat. Look at that, better than factory. Now the main cover can go back on. Don't forget that side piece. And once again, these are all 10mm. Completed. Finally. It's ready to go back in the car now. Just double check, make sure all the bolts and nuts are where they need to be and everything's in one piece. Let's head back out to the car. It's even lighter now, so I'm definitely more than confident I can handle and wrangle this thing around. The best practice is to feed in the side with the vent fan first, and then kind of pivot from there. At least that's the best way on the V models of the Prius lineup. And once again, that red wire there on the driver's side is for an aftermarket camera, so pay that no mind. Start out by loosely putting in all those 12mm bolts for the case itself that locks it down to the car. Do these 2 first, they're easy. Like I said before, I did not take off any side covers, so this angle is kind of goofy. If you chose to take off the side cover, you can get right at those bolts, no problem. But I wanted to do this any way that I would do it, so. And once again, 12mm bolts. Extensions are your friend. For every extension you gain a small degree of pivoting access, so it helps out. Now we go to the driver's side. That was the passenger side. The front one you can get to pretty easy. To get to the back one, I recommend this little tip. Put a piece of paper or a paper towel into a socket and push the nut or bolt into the socket it holds. That way you can just drop it right in. Tighten it down. Now it's time to put on the high voltage cables. These are also 10mm bolts or nuts. I've got this on the lightest setting. Go back and hand torque every bolt. Once you know that's properly fitted, you can go ahead and put the cover back on. Zip those 4 10mm. See the theme here? And a safety plug, of course. Putting back on the vent. I removed this fully only for video purposes. You don't have to do that if you're removing the battery without video recording it. The exhaust for the cooling system, air cooling system, just a push pin. Good to go. The safety plug goes back in. Final step, you need to remember that. That is very crucial. That last little push in that way, crucial. Tighten down the battery, 10mm. Put that little cover back on. Now it's time to reassemble. The main cover just plops right back on there. Don't forget that little 10mm bolt that resides down there. I just put that on hand tight. These little hooks here, you just kind of push down and curl it in at the same time. Curling down. My son says like and subscribe this video. He'd really appreciate it. Time to put in the bins. The main cover, the two little side covers, the infamous carpet, and of course the little security shade. Plop up the seats, give the back end a little smack, and you have completed the battery install. Pat yourself on the back. It is done. It is complete. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the comment section below. It's been a lot of fun making this video. There is still more content to come about the Prius V specifically in this section called Prius V and Me. And of course, the main product of this channel is the car reviews that I will be finishing up the editing for those videos. I have quite a few more of those on the way. And as always, I really hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.